The storm that night was not like any other storm the town had seen before. The sky above the mountains was dark and heavy, filled with clouds that looked like they were tearing apart. Thunder rolled again and again, shaking the windows in the small wooden houses. Flashes of white light split the sky, followed by rain so hard it almost felt alive. But in the middle of that storm, something else happened. Something that no one in the town could explain. A ball of fire fell from the clouds. It was too big to be lightning, too fast to be a plane, and too strange to be a star. People who were awake that night swore they heard it like the sky itself screaming as the object tore through the air. Then there was a blast, a sound so powerful it rattled every roof in the valley. And then, silence. The next morning, the villagers climbed into the forest to find out what had happened. At first, they thought it was only storm damage, but the deeper they went, the more they saw things that made no sense. The trees were split and burned black. The earth was cracked open. Birds and insects were gone, not a sound in the air. And in the center of it all was a crater, smoking and steaming as if the ground itself was alive. But what truly shocked them was not the crater. It was what stood inside it. A small figure. It had fur, damp from the rain. Its teeth were sharp, showing when it smiled, and its eyes were large and shining. The creature looked playful, almost like a doll come to life. But there was something about that smile, something that felt too wide, too knowing. It was as if the creature understood, far more than it should. The children gasped with delight. They called it cute. They even laughed when it tilted its head and made a sound like a giggle. But the adults felt uneasy. No one knew its name that day. But soon the whispers spread. Labubu. At first the villagers believed Labubu was harmless. The children followed it when it danced around the fields, chasing after butterflies and jumping through puddles. It seemed light, joyful, even silly. But the strange things began almost immediately. Wherever Labubu went, lights flickered. Lamps turned on and off. Radios hissed with static. Old televisions glitched and showed broken shapes. At night, the cows refused to leave their barns, and the dogs barked at empty corners. The forest itself grew quiet whenever Labubu appeared, as if the whole world was holding its breath. And then there was the laugh. That strange laugh. Sometimes late at night, the villagers swore they could hear it echoing through the forest. Not close, not far, just drifting on the wind, chilling the blood in their veins. Dr. Myra, the only scientist in the town, decided she could not ignore it. She had seen enough strange storms and enough local stories to know this was different. She began to watch Labubu more carefully. It didn't eat. It didn't drink, not even a drop of water. Days passed, and it never seemed to sleep. It only smiled, always smiled, as if sleep was something it did not need. Mira sometimes caught herself staring into its eyes, which seemed to glow faintly even in the dark. The glow was not natural. It was steady, pulsing slowly like a hidden heartbeat. Is it a creature? She whispered to herself more than once. Or is it a machine? Labubu never answered. It only smiled. One evening when the sky was turning red with sunset, Mira followed Labubu without it noticing. It walked quietly through the forest, moving faster than its size should allow. Finally, it stopped at the crater, the place where it had first appeared. Labubu stood at the edge, looking up at the sky. Its smile faded for the first time. Mira froze in place, hidden by the trees, and lifted her eyes to see what it was staring at. There, a light. Not a star. Stars do not move like that. Not a plane. Planes do not stop and start in the air like that. The light was searching. Moving across the clouds slowly, almost as if it was looking for something or someone. Myra felt her heart beat harder, and in that instant she realized something she had not thought about before. Maybe Labubu was not lost. Maybe it was hiding, and then it happened. Labubu's smile faded completely. Its wide mouth turned flat. Its shining eyes, usually so playful, looked almost afraid. Mira whispered, barely louder than a breath. "What are you running from?" Her words should not have been heard. Duh. She was too far away. But Labubu turned, slowly, its glowing eyes locked on her, and then, for the first time, it spoke. But not with a voice. The words were not heard with ears. They were inside her head, a voice that was not hers, cold and echoing like it came from the deep earth. "They are coming." Mira's breath stopped. She stumbled back, her shoes crunching on the leaves, but she could not look away. Labubu's smile slowly returned, stretching across its face once more. But now, that smile no longer looked playful. It looked like a mask. A mask that hid something dark. The forest grew silent, as if the trees themselves were listening. Even the wind stopped. Mira felt the weight of the world pressing on her chest. "They are coming." The words echoed again in her mind, softer now, almost fading. Labubu turned its gaze back to the sky, its body still and quiet. Mira's hands trembled. She could not move. She did not know who they were. She only knew that the thing in front of her was not what it seemed, and she was not sure if it was warning her or threatening her. The silence of the forest deepened. The crater seemed darker. Above them, the light in the sky blinked once, as if it had noticed. For days after that night, Dr. Myra could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard it again, those words inside her head. Not spoken, but carved deep into her mind. "They are coming." She replayed everything she had seen. Labubu, staring at the sky, the strange light moving above the clouds, the sudden fear in its smile. Mira knew then that the creature was not just strange. It was dangerous, maybe not by itself, but because of what was searching for it. Still, she kept quiet. She told no one. Who would believe her? The villagers already thought Labubu was only a curious animal, maybe even a lucky charm. The children loved it, and the adults tolerated it, though uneasily. If Mira told them it could speak in her mind, or that something else might be hunting it, they would laugh at her or worse, panic. So she watched in silence. Labubu wandered the town freely. It played by the river, it sat on rooftops, and sometimes it even walked into shops, smiling with those sharp teeth. People grew used to it, though never fully comfortable. And always, Myra noticed the same thing. The air around Labubu felt heavier, lights glitched, batteries drained, ticked wrong, as if the world itself bent slightly whenever it was near. One night, unable to hold her fear anymore, Mira tried to speak to it. She found Labubu sitting on the old stone wall near her clinic, its legs swinging like a child. The moonlight glowed against its fur, making its wide eyes shine. "Labubu," she said softly. The creature turned, smiling. She swallowed her fear. "Who are they? The ones that are coming?" For a long moment, nothing happened. It only smiled. Mira's heart sank. Maybe she had imagined the voice before. Maybe she was losing her mind. But then she felt it again. A pressure in her head, a shiver down her spine. In words not spoken, but clear. "They made me." Mira froze. "Made you." Labubu's smile twitched. Its eyes glowed faintly brighter. Again the voice filled her thoughts. "They lost me. Now they come." The air around her seemed colder. Mira took a step back. "Are they human?" she whispered. Silence. Then no. Her heart raced. Then what are they? But the voice was gone. Labubu only smiled again, tilting its head like it didn't understand. The conversation was over. Mira lay awake that night, her mind spinning. A creature made, not born. A creature that didn't eat, didn't sleep, and carried an energy inside it. Something had created Labubu, and that something was coming here. The next day, the first signs appeared. It started with the animals. Birds flew in huge, panicked flocks, circling the mountains before vanishing completely. Dogs barked without reason. Horses refused to leave their stables. The villagers noticed, but they blamed it on the stormy weather. But Myra knew. It was not the storm. Later, when she checked the town's old radio tower, she found the machines buzzing and sparking. Static filled the speakers, but under the static, she thought she heard something else. A rhythm. a signal. Almost like a countdown. That evening, the villagers gathered in the square because strange lights had been seen in the sky again. Dozens of them this time. Some red, some white, moving in patterns no plane could follow. The crowd gasped and pointed, children clapping with excitement. Only Mira felt her stomach turn cold. Labubu stood in the middle of the crowd, its smile unchanged, but its eyes were locked on the sky. Wide, glowing, unblinking, she pushed through the villagers and grabbed its arm. "Tell me the truth," she hissed. "What are they?" The smile finally faded. For the second time, she saw fear, and then the voice came again, sharp and heavy in her mind. "Hunters." The word cut through her like a knife. She stared up at the lights in the sky, her heart thundering. "Hunters, coming here, searching." The villagers murmured nervously. "What are those lights?" someone asked. "Is it the army?" "No, no planes fly like that. Maybe it's a festival in the city," but before anyone could finish, the lights disappeared. One by one, they blinked out, leaving the sky empty. The villagers relaxed. They laughed nervously, said, "It must have been nothing." But Mira knew better. Lights that could vanish like that were not planes. And Labubu's silence only made her more afraid. That night, she dreamed of the crater. She dreamed of black skies and strange ships cutting through the clouds. She dreamed of Labubu, standing in the center, its smile fixed as shadows moved closer. When she woke, sweat soaked her bed. The warning was clear now. Something had made Labubu. Something was hunting it. Soon they would arrive here. Myra began to write notes, desperate to understand. She filled pages with what she knew. Labubu appeared after the storm. It causes energy to fail. It communicates without sound. It does not eat, drink, or sleep. It fears the lights in the sky. It was made. They are coming. Her pen stopped. She underlined the last line again and again until the paper tore. The next evening, the village was darker than usual. The power lines failed. Even candles burned weaker, as though the flame itself was frightened. People whispered that maybe the storm had broken something. But Mira knew. She stepped outside her clinic and looked up. The stars were hidden again by thick clouds. Faintly, very faintly, she saw them. Lights moving above, watching. Searching in the distance, she heard it again. That laugh. The strange, high-pitched laugh of Labubu, drifting across the valley like a ghost. And for the first time, Mira wondered if the villagers had been wrong from the beginning. Maybe Labubu was not hiding. Maybe it was bait. The thought struck her. Like ice. What if the hunters were not only coming for Labubu? What if they were coming for all of them? The wind blew cold through the streets. Doors creaked. Dogs whimpered. And somewhere in the shadow of the forest, Labubu smiled. The hunters came on the third night. Mira had not slept for days, her eyes red and tired, but her fear kept her awake. She sat by her window, staring at the forest, waiting for something to happen. The villagers still believed the strange lights were only storms or planes, but Myra knew better. She felt it in her bones. And then it happened. The power in the whole town died at once. Lights went out. Generators stopped. Its phones turned black. The village was swallowed in darkness. Children screamed, adults shouted, and panic filled the streets. But before anyone could light a candle, the sky opened. Dozens of shapes moved silently above the clouds, not planes, not birds. Their forms shifted like shadows, glowing with faint red and white lights. They moved with perfect silence, gliding. In circles above the valley, the villagers looked up, terrified. "What are they?" someone whispered. Mira already knew the answer. Hunters. She turned her eyes toward the edge of the crowd. And there, standing still, was Labubu. It did not hide. It did not run. It only smiled, its sharp teeth glinting in the faint light. But its eyes were locked on the sky, wide and glowing. Then the first sound came, a deep hum, low and powerful, shaking the earth beneath their feet. The shapes above descended slowly, and beams of light shot down from them, scanning the forest, the mountains, the very streets of the town. One of the villagers screamed as a beam passed over him. His body froze, locked in place. His eyes turned white for a moment, and then the light moved on, releasing him. He collapsed to the ground, shaking and crying. The crowd scattered in terror, running into houses, hiding in barns anywhere they could. Mira stayed frozen, her heart pounding. She turned her gaze back to Labubu, and that was when she understood. The beams were not random. They were searching. Searching for one thing. Searching for Labubu. Mira's breath caught in her throat. Rushed forward, grabbing Labubu's small arm. "You have to hide," she whispered fiercely. "They're looking for you." Labubu turned its glowing eyes to her, the smile never fading. And then the voice filled her head again. "No hiding. They will find me." Mira shook her head. "If they find you, they'll destroy everything. You'll kill us all." The smile twitched just for a second. Then the voice whispered once more, "They will not take me. They will take you." Her blood turned to ice. She stumbled back, staring at the creature. For the first time, she wondered if Labubu had brought the hunters here on purpose. The hum grew louder. One of the beams of light turned toward them. Mira's instincts screamed run. She grabbed Labubu and pulled it into the shadows of a nearby alley. The beams swept over the spot they had been standing just seconds before. The ground shook as one of the hunter ships lowered closer. Its surface was black, shifting like liquid metal, its lights pulsing like a heartbeat. No engines, no sound, only that deep hum that made Myra's bones ache. A door opened on its underside. Figures began to descend. They were tall, thin, and moved like shadows in water. Their forms flickered, as if not fully solid. Eyes like burning glass shone from their heads. Each one carried a staff that glowed with the same white light as the beams. The hunters. The villagers hid in silence, watching with wide eyes. Children were hushed, parents covering their mouths so no sound would escape. The hunters scanned the streets slowly, their glowing staffs sweeping side to side. Wherever the light touched, walls cracked, wood splintered, and metal bent. Like Paper BR crouched low, holding Labubu tightly. But the creature did not resist. It did not fear. It only stared at the hunters, its smile wider than ever. "They come for me," it whispered in her head. "But they need more." Myra felt sick. More what? But Labubu didn't answer. One of the hunters stopped suddenly. Its head turned, glowing eyes fixing on the alley where Mira and Labubu hid. Slowly, it raised its staff. Mira's breath caught. She pushed Labubu behind her, though she knew it was useless. The hunter's staff glowed brighter, humming with deadly energy, and then something strange happened. Labubu stepped forward. Its smile widened even more, and the glow in its eyes flared. A pulse of energy burst out of it, invisible but powerful. The hunter froze in place, its staff dimming, its body flickering like a broken machine. The other hunters turned immediately. Their staffs lit up, their glowing eyes locking on Labubu. Mira grabbed its arm again. "Run!" she shouted, dragging it into the darkness of the alley. Behind them, beams of white light shot down, burning holes into the ground. Stone cracked, walls shattered, flames rose where the beams struck. The hunters were no longer scanning. They were attacking. Mira ran through the twisting streets, her lungs burning, Labubu beside her. The villagers screamed and scattered, some caught in the beams, others trampled in the chaos. The town was falling apart. Finally, Mira reached the forest. She stumbled into the trees, branches snapping around her. The sounds of the hunters echoed behind beams, tearing through houses, the deep hum shaking the ground. But when she looked, down, Labubu was still smiling, always smiling. Mira stopped, gasping for air. "Tell me the truth," she demanded. "Why are they hunting you? What are you really?" Labubu's eyes glowed brighter. The voice filled her mind again, heavier than ever. "They made me. They lost me. They want me back. But I do not want to go." Mira's voice shook. "Why? What will happen if they take you?" The smile stretched wider. "Too wide. If they take me, they win. If I stay, they lose." Her knees weakened. Then Then what happens to us? Labubu tilted its head. For a moment, the smile faltered, almost like pity. You break. The forest lit up with beams of light. The hunters were close. The air pulsed with energy. Mira grabbed Labubu again, forcing herself to run deeper into the shadows. But even as she ran, the question burned in her mind. Was Labubu really a victim? Or the bait in a trap too big for them to escape? The hunters were no longer searching. They were hunting, and the hunt had only just begun. The forest burned with light. Beams of white energy cut through the trees, splitting trunks, turning branches to ash. The hunters moved silently among the smoke, their tall shapes glowing like ghosts. Their eyes scanned the ground, their staffs. Humming with power, Mira ran until her lungs felt like fire, pulling Labubu by the arm. But no matter how far she went, the hum of the hunters followed. The air itself seemed alive with their presence. Finally, her legs gave out. She collapsed near the old stone ruins at the edge of the forest, a place older than the town itself. The cracked stones jutted from the ground like broken teeth. Mira pressed her back against one of them, gasping for breath. Labubu stood calmly. Beside her, smiling as always. Its eyes glowed brighter now, pulsing with a strange rhythm. Why are you smiling? Mira hissed. They're destroying everything. The voice filled her head again. They do not destroy. They search. Mira's fists clenched. They are killing people. They froze that man in the square. They burned houses. Don't you care? Labubu tilted its head, the smile twitching. They do not want them. Only me. You hide me. So they burn. Her stomach turned cold. She realized the truth she had been avoiding. The hunters would not stop until they had Labubu. And as long as it stayed here, the village would suffer. But then another thought struck her, sharper and darker. What if the hunters were not the villains? What if Labubu was? She stared at its glowing eyes, the too wide smile. All this time, Labubu had laughed while the world around it suffered. It never cried, never showed fear except once. It only smiled. Always smiled. Tell me the truth, Mira whispered. Her voice shook, but she forced the words out. What are you? What are you really? For a long moment, silence. Then the voice filled her mind, deeper now, almost like more than one voice. Speaking at once, I am seed. Mira frowned. Seed. Of what? The smile widened. Of them, her heart pounded. You're one of them? The glow in its eyes flared. The ruins around them vibrated as if the stones themselves were reacting. They made me. They sent me. But I ran. Mira's head spun. If it was a seed, a creation, then maybe the hunters were not chasing an escaped pet. Maybe they were trying to contain something far worse. Why did you run? She asked. Labubu's smile twitched, almost cracking. For a moment its eyes dimmed. Because I learned to smile. The forest shook with another blast of light. Hunters were close now, beams cutting through the ruins. Mira pressed lower too. The ground, her mind racing. You mean, you're not like them? She whispered. Labubu's voice echoed softly. I am half. I am made of them. But I am not them. I escaped. Smiled because I am free. Mira's breath caught. If that was true, then maybe the hunters weren't here to save them. Maybe they were here to drag Labubu back, to erase what it had become. But then the voice grew darker. If they take me back, they make more. Mira froze. More. Like you. Labubu nodded slowly, the smile never fading. Not like me. Like them. Her chest tightened. If the hunters got Labubu, they would use it to create more weapons, more seeds, more creatures. And maybe next time, they wouldn't smile. The ruins shook violently. One of the hunters appeared at the edge of the stones, its glowing staff raised. Mira screamed and pulled Labubu down, the beam slamming into the wall above them. Stone exploded, shards flying. They couldn't run anymore. The hunter stepped closer, its eyes blazing. Behind it, more shadows moved. The hunt was almost over. Mira turned to Labubu, desperate. What can we do? Tell me. How do we stop them? For the first time, Labubu's smile faltered. Its eyes dimmed, then blazed bright again. The voice filled her mind, heavy and final. I burn. Her eyes widened. Burn? What do you mean? Labubu looked at her with something almost like sadness. I end me. I end them. But I end you too. The ground shook harder, as the hunters were nearly upon them. Mira's thoughts spun wildly. Labubu destroyed itself. Maybe the hunters would fall with it. Maybe it was their only chance, but it would also destroy everything nearby. The forest, the village, everyone. Her hands trembled. There has to be another way. The hunters raised their staffs. White light filled the ruins. Mira threw herself over Labubu, her body shielding it without thinking. And then something changed. Labubu's eyes blazed like twin suns. A pulse of energy burst out, stronger than anything before. The hunters froze mid-step. Their bodies flickered wildly, their staffs shattering in their hands. The beams of light bent and snapped, dissolving into sparks. Mira gasped, holding on as the pulse grew stronger. The ruins glowed, the ground cracked, the sky split open with blinding light. The hunters screamed a sound not made with mouths, but with the tearing of reality itself. One by one, they shattered, their forms breaking apart into dust and fading into the air. Myra shut her eyes, clinging to the stone, the world shaking around her, and then silence. When she opened her eyes, the forest was dark again. The hunters were gone. The sky was empty. Only ashes drifted in the air, glowing faintly before fading. She looked down. Labubu lay in her arms, smaller than before. Its glow dim. Its smile was faint now, almost weak. Myra, the voice whispered in her mind for the last time. Smile for me. And then the light in its eyes went out. The ruins were silent. Mira held the small, still body, her tears falling onto its fur. The hunters were gone. The village was safe. But Labubu was no more. She sat there until dawn, the rising sun casting golden light across the broken forest. The villagers came searching, calling her name, but she barely heard them. All she could hear was the echo of that strange laugh, now only a memory. Labubu was gone, but the mystery remained. Had it really saved them? Or had it only delayed something worse? Myra looked up at the sky where the hunters had come from. And in that moment, she realized the truth. The stars were full of secrets. Labubu had only been the first.